at any time.
Well, forgiveness, you put it so well, is it's really a gift you give yourself. I mean, we think it's about, I'm going to give this to someone else and I'm going to forgive you. But what we're really doing is this gift to ourselves. They've used the analogy of resentment and judgment, of putting a bunch of garbage in your car, rolling up the windows, and it's July and you're driving around with all this stench in your car and everybody else is just doing what they're doing. And it's really something that is your own block and sadness and limitation. And then we find so many ways to distract ourselves, with relationships and money and all this quest for peace, rather than this place of stopping. And what we do here is recognizing that the peace has always been inside. It's an inside experience. And any certainly spiritual teacher or any place of letting go of some story, you really get to see, I've been really identified with this story of struggle. And I wonder what it would feel like if I just really believed or take a moment to understand that joy has always been there.
Well, and another one of my great role models, Geneva Price. We were talking beforehand, and we were talking about just this giddiness that we have about unity. And she said that, when she first came in 43 years ago, that she was so glad to find a place where she didn't have to fit into a box. And I thought that was so appropriate for thinking about unity, is that you don't have to be in a box here. There's no box that you have to check. There's no specific way you have to do things. That you really are here among people that are doing things whatever works for them, and that we're able to love and support and encourage each other, regardless of how we particularly look at life. So I loved that visual of, how so often we start off life thinking that there's this box that we're supposed to fit into, and that if we just stay in that box, that everything will be happy and fun and all right. And then when we get to that point where we realize that it's the box that's the problem, and being able to then let go of that box. And as Geneva so beautifully shows us every day, of just be who you truly are, outside of the box, without a box, that we can be who truly are, and we can love and support each other in whatever place that we're at. So I just wanted to say thanks to Geneva for that wonderful wisdom that she not only says, but she lives every day. So thanks, Geneva.
And, this is the gift of forgiveness, is this freedom. Really, and I'm always in awe of Geneva also. I say, we've got the talk, we plan these things, and when we actually do plan the talk, and that she just lets it flow. I say, what's going on? What are you going to sing about today? She said, I don't know. It's just going to come to me. Really. And it's wonderful because that is what the byproduct of forgiveness is this freedom to let this life you be guided by the next inspiration, and to become comfortable with being happy, to be comfortable with being joyful. When we've lived a life of the world's against me, and I'm always kind of looking out for the next thing that's going to hit me or attack me, or it's a journey to start feeling this sense of all is well, and I'm okay, and I've always been okay. And if I'm having any kind of challenge, it's really just another place of my wanting to learn about I'm okay again, and all is well. And we were, again, talking in our class this morning about someone that has an inspiration to do something and is working at a place. She's working out at Unity Village, and it's becoming so happy for her. She said, I love this, and I'm so happy. And it almost feels a bit like she's sort of floating, like she's sort of having to let it in, this joy thing. Because, we can live in this place of feeling limited. And when we recognize this unlimitedness that comes from having conversations or looking at places where we're stuck, that freedom has always been there.
And the thing that I've realized is that when we do allow ourselves to get in the flow, it looks like miracles are happening, But I think they were there all along, and
Absolutely.
I just didn't notice them. Because when we are in the flow, it is limitless. There's things that happen that I would have never even thought of, and yet it's even more wonderful than I could have imagined. And so I think that is such a beautiful image, Heidi, of being in the flow of life. Then suddenly it feels like miracles start to happen. And it's a little scary sometimes because you don't get to plan it out. Some of you who know me know I have my little Franklin planner, and I want to make an Excel spreadsheet on everything. And I've had to let go of that, and Heidi has been a wonderful role model for me. Let it flow, Janet. Just let it go. And you've just been a wonderful inspiration for me on that, because it does work if you just get in the flow.
And it can be anything. Of course, I could use a spreadsheet, so maybe we need to talk. But it was interesting. I was just in Houston, and my father has had a lot of breathing challenges over the last couple of years, and he went in this last time, was in the emergency room for breathing, and he said, I think you guys need to look into allowing me to be a candidate for a lung transplant. And he's 80 years old, and they went through all this process, and the oldest person that they've ever given a lung transplant is 78 years old. So he says, I'm going to set a record. And I'm like, could we just stop setting records in this family? But anyway, he's all excited about having a lung transplant, and because it was his idea, and it gives him this sense of being having an possibility and life working. And my brother-in-law, who's across the street in another hospital, is dealing with brain cancer. And he's had a life of feeling like life's been happening to him a lot. And we had this moment of he's really been in the hospital for a couple weeks, and he and I had a moment of talking about spirituality. And he and I never get to really talk about that because he's been this sort of worker bee person his whole life, and now he's in a hospital bed. And we had a really interesting conversation, and I just had to see the difference between a man that's about to get a new lung, waiting around for that, and very optimistic, and a person that has really seen life as against him a lot, and just beginning to wake up with this process. So we see that this freedom that we get to live with has nothing to do with our outer circumstances. It has everything to do with understanding this freedom of spirit and of choice that we have in every moment. And if you're feeling restricted and challenged and looking for money or husbands or whatever, that it's really this place of, I want to pay attention to this. I want to be free in this life to really understand that this is how I was born. In this sense of feeling completely free and good about myself. Like Duke said last week, no babies are thinking, somebody going to change my diapers tomorrow? It's this place that we want to return, that is this joy that you're experiencing. And I see that people can have it with those horrendous circumstances like getting a lung transplanted and or not. That we can really feel ourselves as restricted and challenged. And
I think that's such a great example. And it really is about, there's the two parts of forgiveness, is that forgiveness that happens internally and externally. I think the thing that I have found extremely valuable is to go to those people that I know that I have treated less than wonderful, and to be able to proactively have that conversation with them about how I want to ask for forgiveness, as well as proactively going to the people who I have harbored some resentment about, and proactively going to them and giving them my forgiveness. And not that they want it, not that they ask for it, not that it's going to change them in any way, or that it has. I can think of a couple of conversations that I've had where I needed it to say it and then let it go, and it didn't matter if they needed to hear it or not. And so I think that that's such a good example of where forgiveness is both an inside and an outside job. That you can think about those people that maybe you need to go have that conversation with, either to ask forgiveness or to forgive, and letting go of the outcome of what response they might have to that. And then knowing that internal work can begin to happen. So I just think it's such a powerful subject and can be so transformative.
It is, yes, and just this honesty, the letting go, and the really paying attention to the places where we feel stuck that want to be opened and communicated.
That's
And
true.
yeah, so
Awesome.
that's right. The truth will set us free.
Right on, sister.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, this is part of the prosperity journey that we know that it is this idea of really knowing that we are the flow, and that if there's rocks in your way or places where you feel like I'm going to take the poison and I want you to get sick, that's the place of I am the one that wants to release that sense of resentment.
So true.
Yeah. So we just continue knowing that we are prosperity in action, and we're always getting opportunities to see how we get to grow.
In the flow and let the miracles come.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I'm sure
right
glad
on.
you showed up to be my mirror.
Me too.
Yes, absolutely. Love you so much.
I love you too.
All right. So let's have some meditation around this.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Namaste, you guys.
I just give you a hug.